Shush!
It's time for The Shelf. Whangarei District Libraries Radio on Beagle Radio. Oh!
Kia ora koutou. Welcome to The Shelf, a radio show for Whangarei District Libraries on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM.
Kia ora koutou. My name is LJ. I'm a cataloguing services librarian at Whangarei District Libraries and a part-time radio DJ.
And my name is Andy. I'm in outreach services. I do things such as event planning, and I just try to extend services to the community.
We are librarians in Whangarei, here to discuss matters relating to libraries, culture, literature, and the community. Although we're broadcasting from New Zealand, we are advocates for library services everywhere. And we're going to jump right into what we are reading at the moment.
Well, one thing that I have just finished was an audiobook that is about French cuisine.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me about this.
Yeah, it's an interesting book because it just goes through the history of France, but mainly talks about food in French culture. And I think that's one way to just tell the history of the country, is talk about food traditions. And it's been very enjoyable. But I'm going to talk more about that later. Instead, I'd like to break from tradition. I've brought a book here about banned books, and I would like to recommend this to my colleague right here on the air. So here it is, Banned Books, and I've marked the pages that I recommend. Here you go, LJ.
Thank you so much. This will be great because we are doing a special episode in September for Banned Books Week. So I think it starts on the, I'm going to check my dates. Starts on the 22nd of September and goes till the 28th of September. So our special Banned Books episode will be on the 25th of September if you want to mark your calendars for that. And what I'm reading at the moment, well, I've just finished it actually. I've been reading or listening to the Terry Pratchett audiobooks, the Discworld series. The Truth by Terry Pratchett has been the one I just listened to, and it's one of the Industrial Revolution novels, like mini-series within the series, that charts the technological, commercial, and cultural advances on the fictional Discworld. And this one kind of outlined the advent of the printing press and investigative journalism through the lens of Discworld. And there's a couple of really good quotes in it. I've got one of my favourite ones saved for later, but there's a couple that I've just written down here. When people say clearly something, that means there's a huge crack in their argument and they know things aren't clear at all. And he has yet to find out that what's in the public interest is not what the public is interested in, which I quite liked. And I'd also like to shout out Beamer Film here. If you don't know about Beamer Film, you can it's a streaming website that you can access for free with your library card number and PIN. And they've recently just put Heathers, the 1988 cult classic, up online. And that is one of my favorite films, so I just watched it again over the weekend. Yeah.
Still sorting out the sound. I'm going to try something and just pull that down.
Okay.
I'd like to give an update about the Paris Olympics. So, in total, New Zealand won 20 medals. That is, yeah, that's great. And that is 10 golds, 7 silvers, and 3 bronzes. And that is 3 for Lisa Carrington. And that's for rowing, for 3 separate events. And also the rugby sevens team won the gold. And I have to mention this because one of their players, Portia Woodman, is a local from Kawakawa. And she was on the Black Ferns, who won the very nail-biting World Cup competition against England just 2 years ago. And that was such an amazing game. They won by the skin of their teeth, maybe the last minute or two. It was so cool. And special mention to, this isn't New Zealand, though. It's my home country. I want to talk about Simone Biles for just a second because I think she's awesome. But she won alone 7 gold medals she has overall won 7 gold medals and competed in 3 Olympics. I think one thing I really like, it pops up on Reddit all the time, but she's going to throw the first pitch at a baseball game, and first she does a backflip because she can.
Yeah.
And what I like about gymnastics is I think there's a bit of art to it, a sort of dance art. And she took the fun, old-fashioned game of baseball, and she added something very beautiful to it. I also thought it was fun that she threw the pitch and then walked to the catcher, revealing how huge the catcher is and how short she is. So, yeah, good on her.
Awesome. We've got a couple of, if you can't get enough now that the Olympics are over, we've got a couple of Olympic and sport-related book recommendations. Power of One by Bryce Courtney, that's a classic. And also in our non-fiction collection, Rome 1960, The Olympics That Changed the World, which is about the first doping scandal, the first commercially televised summer games, and the first athlete paid for wearing a certain brand of shoes. And that is by David Marinus. And then also Triumph, Jesse Owens and Hitler's Olympics, which is by Jeremy Schaap. And that is the story of Jesse Owens, who was a 22-year-old African-American who competed in the 1936 Olympics. And, yeah, quite an inspirational story. So, yeah.
I want to talk about misinformation and disinformation. The American Psychological Association defines misinformation as false or inaccurate information, getting the facts wrong. Disinformation is false information which is deliberately intended to mislead, intentionally misstating the facts. The spread of misinformation and disinformation has affected our ability to improve public health, address climate change, maintain a stable democracy, and more. That is a direct quote from the American Psychological Association website. So you can read more about that on apa.org. I strongly encourage you to do so. We have noticed an increase lately in the amount of disinformation being shared online in light of current events. The disinformation is related to the Paris Olympics and the stabbing and subsequent riots in the United Kingdom. More specifically, the disinformation online falsely claimed that Imane Khalif is transgender. To be clear, this is false. I repeat, that is false. But the claim has led to some very high-profile people harassing Khalif online. In the second case, false information spread on social media that the person who committed several fatal stabbings in Southport, UK, was an asylum seeker. To be clear, this is false. The suspect was born in Cardiff, Wales. But false information has led to riots in the United Kingdom that are targeting immigrants. The disinformation spread about both of these cases is working for its intended purpose, to spark an emotional, even violent reaction, and ultimately divide people.
Thanks, Andy. And we've talked about misinformation and disinformation before, and how to learn about it and how to spot it. But in light of these recent events, it never hurts to hear it again. So first of all, I'd like to shout out our own podcast. If you refer to The Shelf, episode 8, Carly and Andy did a great segment around the 17-minute mark about the CRAP test, which is CRAAP, and that stands for Currency, Relevance, Authority, Accuracy, and Purpose. So to hear more about that, go and give episode 8 a listen on our YouTube channel. And I would just like to read a modified version of a 2020 post about misinformation and disinformation from a professor called Charlotte Kupsch. Have modified it, but it was posted in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, when we were seeing a big rise of mis and disinformation online. So number 1, slow down. Disinformation and misinformation often spread because we share things without thinking, especially during crisis when we're excited, scared, or confused. Stop and breathe. Take a minute. 2, who is behind this? Look at who created the post, photo, meme, or infographic you want to share. Who created it? Is this person trustworthy? Are they credible? If you can't tell who created it, red flag. Generally speaking, people tend to want credit for work they've done or things they've created. 3, where does this information come from? If the sources aren't cited, don't share the post. Watch out for broad citations, e.g. Reference to news media but without a specific link or date. In theory, you should be able to find the place the information came from yourself based on the information in the post. If you can't, red flag. 4, what is it saying? Is the information wild, new, or shocking? Head over to Google and do a search. Can you find trustworthy sources that corroborate this one? 5, resist lizard brain. Our lizard brains love binaries, simplicity, and being right. Is there a possibility that this is a complex topic being framed as simply quote-unquote good or quote-unquote bad? Has a highly complex topic been reduced to 2 sentences and a dancing gif? Do you like this meme because it confirms that you're right and dumb cousin Gary is wrong? Disinformation loves lizard brain. Don't let it win. 6, again, slow down. Make yourself a drink and ask, did I really think about this first? Why am I sharing this? Is this what I want to do with my life? As I mentioned earlier, I read The Truth by Terry Pratchett, and despite being first published in 2000, predating Facebook's public launch by 6 years, I found this quote more relevant than ever in 2024. Lies could run around the world before the truth even could get its boots on, and it was amazing how people wanted to believe them. In the case of gold medalist boxer Imane Khalif, a 25-year-old Algerian woman who, as Andy mentioned earlier, faced online harassment and speculation regarding her gender identity, according to an article published on August 11th by French news publication Le Monde, I'm guessing, probably not a good pronunciation, the boxer filed a complaint against social media website X, formerly known as Twitter, with the Paris Correctional Court's National Centre for Combating Online Hate. Le Monde reported that the complaint centres around online harassment. Her lawyer, Nabil Boudi, stated in the complaint that these messages were posted by important political figures. It will be interesting to see how this case goes and whether it sets a precedent for potential future victims of mis and disinformation. It is also an important reminder that we should all sharpen up our skills for spotting mis and disinformation, as nobody is immune to falling for it, as evidenced by notable figures such as author J.K. Rowling and our own Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Peters, sharing misinformation regarding Imane Khalif online.
Thank you, LJ. And I'd just like to introduce the song. The song is by Kate Bush. We seem to like Kate Bush on here, but that's all right.
My influence.
And the song is called Hounds of Love. Can you tell me a little bit about this song first?
I, as you know, if you're a regular listener, I set myself a challenge many months ago to try and select book-related songs. And I've done this before where I've used one that's been mentioned in a book I've read, but I just recently read Paul Takes the Form of a Mortal Girl by Andrea Lawler, and Hounds of Love is mentioned. And like I just said, I love Kate Bush, so any excuse to play it on the radio.
Go for it.
It's in the trees. It's coming.
When I was a child, running in the night, afraid of what might be, hiding in the dark, hiding in the street, and the world was following me. The hounds of love are haunting me. I've always been the coward. And I don't know what's good for me. Oh, here I go. It's coming for me through the trees. Oh, help me, someone, help me, please. Take my shoes off and throw them away, and I'll be 2 steps on the water. I found a fox, caught by dogs. You let me take him in my hands. His little heart, it beats so fast, and I'm ashamed of running away. But nothing real, I just can't deal with this. I'm still afraid to be there. Among the hounds of love, feel your arms surround me. I've always been the coward. I never know what's good for me. Oh, here I go. Don't let me go. Hold me down. It's coming for me through the trees. Oh, help me, darling, help me, please. Take my shoes off and throw them away, and I'll be 2 steps on the water. I don't know what's good for me. I don't know what's good for me. I need love. Take your shoes off and throw them away. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
You are listening to Beagle Radio, 88.1 FM, Whangarei, and we are also online at beagleradio.co.nz. If you want to get in contact with the station manager, please email info@beagleradio.co.nz.
We're still having microphone issues, so we are back to sharing a mic. Andy, you were talking earlier about an audiobook that you've been listening to, and I would love to hear some more about it.
My pleasure. Well, this is in honor of the Paris Olympics that has just concluded, but I just finished an audiobook that is about French cuisine and also about the history of the country. But the title of the book is A Bite-Sized History of France. Now, when it's called bite-sized history, what it means is it's full of these rather short vignettes about French food, and I actually have not really listened to any book quite like this, and I found myself just fascinated by it and wanting to tell other people about it, and also I thought I want to mention it on the show. I'm just getting the exact title on here. A Bite-Sized History of France, Delicious Gastronomic Tales of Revolution, War, and Enlightenment. That is the full title. Unfortunately, it is not available at Whangarei Libraries, but I'm going to make sure that it is.
Yes, because I want to read it.
Yep, I'm gonna make sure everybody gets to enjoy it the way I did. Anyway, let's dig into it. This is another issue of Strange Facts. If you haven't listened to this show before, sometimes I like to just dig into a topic, and I tend to gravitate towards the weird. So I call the segment Strange Facts because I think some of this stuff is just fun to talk about. Here's the intro. Is it playing yet?
Technological issues.
Normally it's a bit faster than that. Strange facts about French cuisine. There is a lot that we can say about French food, but I want to focus on 3 specific stories about the history of French food that revolutionized food preservation, hygiene, and etiquette. I chose these specific strange stories from the book that I read because the outcomes have become so commonplace that we now take them for granted. Let me explain. Nicolas Appert was a French inventor born in 1749 and he died in 1841. That was a time span of drastic change in French history. 7-Year War, French Revolution, and the Napoleonic Wars. And also in terms of technology, too. Appert was born in Châlons-en-Champagne, the Champagne region. Appropriately, he used champagne bottles to create a process for bottling vegetables to feed Napoleon's armies. Before bottling, food was usually available only when in season. Appert published a book with instructions for bottling food, sharing this knowledge with the world. It is a method that people still use today. You boil fruit or vegetables for a length of time, pour them into a jar, filling it to the top and sealing the jar. That's it. Appert was probably not aware that boiling food for such lengths of time killed germs. Nevertheless, if sealed properly, the food in the jar will not spoil. Appert did not patent his invention, so he died penniless. He was buried in a mass grave. The British, who were at war with the French at the time, developed a similar process for preserving food, using tin cans. Surely, we all have both bottled and canned foods in our cupboards at home. This way, we can now eat produce during any season. Although you might not have heard of Nicolas Appert, you must have heard of Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur was a French chemist and microbiologist whose discoveries saved countless lives. Pasteur developed the rabies vaccine. He also helped make food production safer and healthier. His studies of microbes not only found that specific microbes cause disease and contaminate food and drink, but he also studied how yeast microbes cause fermentation by converting sugar into alcohol. He discovered that you can kill harmful microbes in wine by heating it to 60 degrees Celsius, in a process we now call pasteurization, named after the scientist, of course. Today, pasteurization is mainly used in dairy production. Thus, Pasteur applied scientific research to food and alcohol production. French winemaking became more scientific and not simply an art. Pasteur also saved the French wine industry, which was going through a bit of a quality crisis at the time. How does Louis Pasteur fit into strange facts? Well, today French wines and cheeses are usually unpasteurized. So, if you are in France and you are enjoying some nice wine and cheese, you most likely won't get sick due to modern, common-sense hygiene practices. But if you are in North America and you get bit by a wild animal, then get a rabies shot, and then enjoy a nice glass of pasteurized milk, you can thank Louis Pasteur. And that's enough about science. The strangest fact of them all was probably my favorite story in the book. It's that the Frankish people living under the Merovingian dynasty, that's from the 5th to 8th century, started a very barbaric practice. which would have been unthinkable to the Romans a few centuries before. The Romans ate their meals reclining, almost lying down, but the Franks started to eat their meals sitting at a table. Merci.
I did not know that. The Louis Pasteur bit brought back the memories of, I had a little kid's book called The Value of Believing in Yourself as a child that told the story of Louis Pasteur in cartoon format. So that was how I originally learned about him. Awesome. Thank you, Andy. And I can't wait to read that book. And we're going to bring back another favorite. What is it? It's Roasting the Classics.
That's right.
And today we are roasting Crime and Punishment by Russian author. You want to have a go at that name?
Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Nailed it.
So in this segment, we look at the great literary classics by reading one-star reviews from Goodreads and other sources. Today we chose Crime and Punishment by Russian author Fyodor Dostoevsky. The book was published in 1866, I believe. I've closed the page. I think that was it. Yeah, 1866 by Dostoevsky. Now, the man was, he was a very hard man. The man had actually been to prison as a political dissident, so he knows how to write about a tortured mind. But back to our reviews, I found, just from doing this segment, that the older and more highly reviewed books have the best hot takes and hilarious, sometimes unhinged reviews. And that's why we enjoy this segment. So, would you like to start, LJ?
Yeah. So, summary of the book, according to one angry Goodreads user. Raskolnikov is a whiny loser who dreams of being a badass. He murders a wicked old landlady and steals her ill-gotten gains. He loses the cash but manages to get away with the murder in spite of being a total incompetent. After the murder, he is tortured by guilt.
That's pretty much it. Have you read this book, LJ?
I actually have. I know I've said on the show before that I don't read a lot of classics, but as we do roasting the classics more, I realize that I am a liar. So this one I've read many years ago, but yeah, that is a pretty good summary considering how many pages this book is.
Yeah, I read it a few years ago, and it is a great book, but I also don't read a lot of classics because books really, storytelling is just not quite the same as it used to be, and I'm not saying they don't make them like they used to. I actually like modern storytelling. my opinion, though. This is an opinion. Here's the next review. Dialogue is convoluted. Thoughts and speech are spliced together, so 1 minute someone is talking and the next they are thinking. So true.
The crime is murder. The punishment is reading this book.
Instead of reading this book, drink vodka in a dark room and think depressing thoughts. That will give you about the same experience and you'll have a better time.
This was so boring. I wanted Raskolnikov to murder me too and put me out of my misery.
Basically, the entire plot of this novel could be resolved if Raskolnikov got off his ass, went back to school, and got a job, helped his mom and sister, and shut up.
I wanted to gouge my eyes out as I read every word. It caused me actual pain to read this book.
Writing this was a crime, and reading it was a punishment. That's almost exactly like one earlier.
Yeah. That's my favorite one, though.
Yeah, well, the book is, it's got some of the longest monologues I have ever read in a book, and that could test your patience very much. I read it because a colleague of mine from the library actually told me, you got to read it. It's a great book, and the conclusion of the book just blew me away, and indeed I felt so too. It is at times a beautiful story. I don't agree with the guy saying you should drink vodka in a dark room.
We are not condoning drinking vodka in a dark room.
No, turn the light on. But my own summary of the book is it starts on a very hot day, quite a different image of St. Petersburg from other Russian novels, and tension is high. You can just feel it in the text, and a man commits murder and tries to rationalize it. It is a great book. Crime and Punishment is a great book. Now, let's talk about some events that happened recently. I didn't get to go because I had a weekend shift. I missed the Sandbox event, but LJ, you were there.
I was there. It was incredibly successful. If you're not familiar, Sandbox Fandom Festival happened a few weeks ago. It was the second one. The first one was last year. This year it was significantly larger. And I think if you listen to the last episode of the podcast or episode before, there's an interview with Verena, one of the organisers, that goes into more detail about it. But this was the first time that the library went. We took the bus, we took the badge maker, and our teen librarian, Milani, did an incredible job of putting together. People could make magic wands. They could choose between like doweling, or she brought these incredible, or found these incredible twisty sticks. And I think that at our final we didn't have an official count, but hundreds of wands and hundreds of badges were made by young and old alike. It was such a just a wonderful sense of community. We had Councillor Connop helping us for half the day, and another volunteer, Jasmine, helped us out as well, which was we were super grateful for. There was 3 of us, but that still wasn't really enough because we were so popular, and it was nice to be able to give people the option of something. It cost to get into the event, but our station was something that people could create and take home with them for free. And watching people embrace their inner child was so lovely. Like, we had obviously a lot of children making stuff, but we had just as many adults, and some adults even without children, that just wanted to come and make stuff for fun. And then we had the bus. I don't want to ruin the magic, but we had a bit of a light show going on the bus. I won't tell you how it was done, but people could go on board and wave their wand and say a little spell, and then the lights on the bus magically lit up, which was created a lot of joy, especially among the young ones. But it was also just a really lovely opportunity for us to talk about our events and programs and other services that we have at the library. I had quite a few conversations with people that came to the store to make badges and things out of old comics that haven't been in the library in years or didn't know about. They say, "Oh, I exclusively listen to audiobooks," and I said, "Well, why are you paying for them?" We've got to talk about the e-platforms that we have, like Libby and BorrowBox and Wheeler's e-platform and U-Library, and got to talk about the movie streaming site that we have, Beamer Film, that I mentioned earlier, as well as the myriad of other things. Got to talk a little bit about our 3D printing services that we have at the library, and got to dispel one of our favourite myths here on the shelf to dispel, about shushing in libraries. Had that one a few times, which we've addressed that on our earlier episodes. but yeah, so it was really nice it was my first, I've done events in the library, but that was my first event at something outside of the library, and it's something like, I'm a little bit of a nerd if you haven't been able to tell already, if you've listened to the show for a while. And yeah, it was just wonderful to see such a huge spectrum of people coming together to just enjoy common interests, like it was, like I said earlier, all ages. And yeah, it was just a really neat thing. So I'm really looking forward to next year. I believe that we will be taking the bus again, and I'm not sure if we'll stick with the same what we did this time or if we'll do a different activity, but we will be there offering free activities, and talking about our events and services, and hyping up what we do at the library. So yeah.
This is just one of the fun things that we get to do. It feels very lucky. About badge making, I've done them at previous events, and it's hard to understate when you see it how effective the badges are. The kids and many adults love them, and there's someone who often organizes events in Whangarei, Aru Singh, said something about how a kid is going to see that badge that they made. They chose it from an old comic, and it's going to bring back memories of that story and of that event and make them associated, perhaps, with the place where they got it, the library. It is... I loved that take. I think that is absolutely true. I even made a few myself.
Me too.
Yeah, you've got to.
Yeah, and on that as well, it's funny because a lot of the parents would, like the kids would be selecting stuff to make badges with, and then I noticed like the parents would go, oh, maybe I'll make, like I had a guy that wanted to make like a Wolverine one, and they were just flicking through while their kids were doing it, and at first they were like, oh, this is just a thing for kids, and then they would kind of, and I said, no, it's for everybody, and then they would slowly kind of, the enthusiasm around it was pretty infectious, and so that was really nice to see families have this little bonding thing of like, look at my badge.
Yeah, I've got some on my desk. I found some old discarded eyewitness books, and those made the best pictures because I've got a Stephen Hawking, I've got a Isaac Newton. Oh, I also found some old kids magazine. I have a very awkward close up of Taylor Swift. It looks hilarious. Would you like to introduce our next item?
Yeah, we'll talk about some events that are coming up at the library. And also, I just thought I'd quickly mention, we had Dying Matters Week at the library last week, which was organised by Go With Grace and had a number of talks, a huge number of talks actually, related to end of life and funeral and planning for end of life, etc. And it was just hugely successful, so well attended, so well organised. It was a real honour to be able to provide that space for people, and I think that we do still have a display downstairs with books regarding that topic, probably up till the end of the week, if you were interested in checking that out. But thank you so much to everybody who attended, and thank you for everyone that presented. And there is a heritage talk coming up on the 29th of August about Māori gardening systems in Taitokoro. Dr. James Robinson will speak about the archaeological evidence of Māori gardening practices in New Zealand and how gardening techniques were adapted and used in Te Taitokoro. Those are usually at, let me just double check where it's being hosted. Yes, it's in a different location this time, so I'm glad that I checked. So it will be in Te Iwitahi Civic Centre, that is the council building, next door to the library on Rust Ave, in the Manaya room on the ground floor, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Thursday, 29th of August. If you can't make it, we do upload the Heritage Talks, where possible, to our YouTube channel, so the same place where you can see the shelf. Not see the shelf, listen to the shelf. So if you subscribe to our YouTube, even if you can't make it, that does look like a really, well, they're all pretty interesting, but yeah, that looks like quite the interesting one. What else have we got coming up, Andy? Yes, the Raranga Tonu Carry On Weaving. I think it's every Thursday, and not every Thursday, fortnightly, to work on your weaving. And it's not a beginner's class, it's for experienced flax weavers only, a free drop-in group to do their weaving. More info on our website. And what else is coming up? Lots, probably. Yes. Flash Fiction Writers Group, first Tuesday of the month. There's the Scrabble Club, which is a drop-in thing on Saturday morning. So you can just, even if you've never been before, 10 a.m. to 12:30, you can just come in and ask for the Scrabble boards and the playing cards at the counter, and go and set up down in the teen area. It's no booking required. It's all skill levels welcome. It's just whoever turns up and wants to play can go for it. Cool. Yeah, actually, what's happening at 116? What day is it today? 16th of August, Dance in the Dark, handbag swap, and high heel swap fundraiser. Fundraising for a young mum with metastatic melanoma. That is, on the 16th, 6:30 p.m. It's on their website. You want to tell me about that?
Sure. On the 20th, next week, there will be a dance class. It's called Kamuokamuri Community Masterclass. Experience a Maori contemporary dance masterclass with dancers from Atamira Dance Company. Participants will engage with Maori perspectives while learning techniques, concepts, and repertoire from the community's recent works, Whakamahiahia by Bianca Hislop, and Remain by Eddie Elliott, featured in the double bill Kamuokamuri. So I think that sounds fascinating.
And I'm going to be really cheeky before we play a song and plug if you've ever been to 116 before, there's a little coffee sort of station in the front. So Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. Shout out Jessie, makes the best coffee in Whangarei, is in there, and she also sells, if you're familiar with Amber's Kitchen down at the Quarry Arts Centre, Jessie has been selling the toss witches, the banana bread, and the yo-yos up here at 116 as well. So Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. Come and check it out, have a coffee, and she's usually here till early afternoon around lunchtime. Alrighty, song time.
This is a fun song. I'll just call it what it is. The song is called Diggy Diggy Hole by Windrose. And I think the song is quite a lot of fun, but I'd never heard it until LJ and I sat down and talked last week. What can you say about this song? Where did you learn about it?
I think it's got quite a bit of lore online. I think this is a cover. But yeah, if you look it up, you can see the evolutions that it's made to sort of get to this point. But Windrose are a like Tolkien sort of inspired band, and I think one of the funniest things is seeing people at their concerts digging their hole. So the song is from the perspective of a dwarf, basically. So we'll leave you with that. Thank you for listening to The Shelf on Beagle Radio 88.1 FM and online at beagleradio.co.nz. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, Whangarei District Libraries, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
See you later. Ka kite.
Brothers of the mind rejoice. Sing, sing, sing to me. Raise a creature, raise a voice.